Hey friends, it's Jess, the Hot Mess Express, and I am back for the summer. We're going to be diving into a garden tour video today for the month of July. But first, we're starting off in my kitchen window here, checking out the beautiful foliage I have in my window, as well as my beautiful hanging crystals, which I will zoom in on here. My little shroomy peel and stick window film there as well. Just whimsy and lovely. On the windowsill here I have Wandering Jew, some more marbled pothos, and a bouquet of dried yarrow, which I've actually had for, I think, going on 2 or 3 years at this point. So if you've ever considered drying flowers, yarrow in particular is great at holding up for a long time. And they still look just as lovely as when I initially dried them. So let's head outside for the garden tour. It's been unseasonably hot here in Southwest Ohio, Zone 6B, pretty much for the whole month of June and leading into July as well. It's just been very, very warm, but we're dealing with it the best we can here. So right now I'm just going to do a little bit of a panning shot of the front yard, my wildflower garden, and all of my porch pots. As you'll see, I'm pretty frugal. I use a combination of recycled materials and pots, plastic and fabric. Here we're looking at a 15 or 20 gallon fabric pot full of sweet potatoes and snapdragons. And here we have a pot of a marigold with an underplanting of, I believe, catmint. Over here we've got my Got the Blues pansies, still going strong, shockingly despite the heat. One of my favorite flowers. This is my patch of basil that I've been keeping manicured so that it keeps producing for me. Some Swiss chard, rainbow Swiss chard in the back there. And then I've got one tomato on each side. And as you guys will see as I kind of pull back here, this is actually a Rubbermaid container, not a pot. Next to that, I've got 2 more tomatoes. I believe both of these are cherry varieties. I was horrible about labeling this year, so I guess it's going to be a surprise when the tomatoes ripen what they actually are. And here we have another snapdragon underplanting my Niagara grapevine, one of 2 that I have here. And leading up to my very tall yellow sunflowers, edging the side of the porch here. Swinging back around to the pots, we've got a sea holly with some more catmint in this pot. We've got English lavender here. Behind that is a rosemary with some alpine strawberries that keep trying to bully their way kind of over it. And here I'm going to turn this plant around. This is a Tiny Tim tomato, which is a super, I don't know if they'd consider that a micro dwarf, but it's very small. This is a yarrow. My pot of carrots is behind that. I actually yank a few of these a couple days later. I just use them in a soup. They're tasty. Not the biggest carrots of all time, but delicious, very sweet. Here's my second Tiny Tim tomato, and my second clutch is ripening at this point, so I've been picking off of these for a couple weeks now. They're very tasty. Thanks, Tiny Tim, for the garden snack. Here's another English lavender. And behind that is another rosemary with more alpine strawberries. I've been eating on these since early spring. They're very mild strawberry flavored. This is my lemon tree that just got a haircut, and there's some more snapdragon plus some straw flowers under that. Here's some salvia and 2 containers, ice cream pails actually, full of lavender. I did not use marker that doesn't fade. So surprise, I don't know what varieties those are. These are Shasta daisies. That's a roselle. And behind the roselle is, actually, this is kind of funny. So this is an onion that started to sprout. So I was going to save it for seed, but it ended up producing, and I've never seen this happen before, but look, guys, there's two heads, two flower stalks on this onion. Interesting, right? So can't wait to see what that produces as far as seed goes for me. And here is my pot of Parisian cucumbers and, surprise, more snapdragons. Just planted these a few weeks ago. They're starting to take to the chicken wire trellis nicely. Figured if they need more room, they can just grow onto the deck there. This is my Joan J. thornless raspberry plant. I've never grown raspberries before. I didn't know that they had thornless varieties, but as you'll see here, I'm pressing on the stem. There's no ouchies, no thorns. They do have very, very small kind of thorns, which I'm trying to show you what they look like here, but you can't really feel them. They're not any worse than, say, a cucumber or a pumpkin. And here is the second grapevine, same variety, Niagara grape. So it's a green table grape. Looking good. Slight bug damage, but what isn't at this point this year? And moving on down into the yard, my glorious patch of bee balm, which did get a trimming. Excuse that dead spot back there. I trimmed that after this video, guys. I'm not the type of person that manicures the garden before I video. What you see is what you get. It's real life, you know. Nature isn't perfect, and I don't strive for perfection in my garden, just beauty and bounty. And the bees sure do love the bee balm, so it makes me very happy. Swinging around here, we've got two types of calendula, zeolite and Pacific Beauty, which are being bullied out by the rudbeckia, which you will find is a common trend throughout this video. Rudbeckia likes to self-seed. And here we have my first prize rose, which is underplanted with alpine strawberries and some spring bulbs, which are obviously not showing because it's summertime. I zoom in here trying to show you an alpine strawberry, but it's very malformed. It's kind of at the end of the season for those at this point. My roses are a whole other issue that I'll discuss in a moment, but for now, the corn is looking awesome. Forming up lots of ears on them. This is sweet corn with catnip next to it. Let's take a look at one of these ears here. See what they're looking like. Sizing up real nice. I need to research when those are ready to pull. Back there are some 4 o'clocks. You've got a little bit of leftover calendula looking sad in the middle, and some self-seeded tomatoes in the front here, which I am lovingly calling my driveway wall tomatoes because they are literally growing over the wall of my driveway here, and I'm just letting them. I love a wild garden. I have a hard time resisting the urge to weed as I'm doing these videos. This is bindweed, friends. Yank that sucker out of there because it will choke out your plants and rip them down. All right, so let's swing over to the other side, but first I can't resist the bumbles, all the happy bumbles on the bee balm. I recently cut my lavender vera back to try to encourage a fall bloom. Please excuse the middle one. It is the oldest and on its way out. I'm going to be replacing it soon. And panning on over to what I'm calling my wildflower garden here. Several different varieties of perennial and annual flowers in here. Got some catmint, a white marigold, some daylilies, blue and black bachelor buttons, more rudbeckia, my irises, some Shasta daisies that desperately need to be deadheaded, as you can see, more rudbeckia, some hollyhocks, bunch of yarrow, my Russian sage, Looking at the yarrow here and the rudbeckia. Kind of doing a panning shot here. Got some echinacea kind of tucked in there. Getting bullied by the Shasta a little bit. Another look at the Russian sage. Now I'm going to take you over to my onion bed here. I have pulled 67 onions so far this year, and I still have plenty in the ground, as you can see, with a couple watermelons planted in the front, vining there. I do have a couple of onions that have fallen over, but guys, if the top of the onion, when you squeeze it, is still hard and pretty green, you want to leave it until that's nice and soft and the top is a little more brown. So that big one isn't quite ready yet, so I'm going to leave it in the ground for a little longer. This was my first really successful year growing onions, and I really think that's because I used mulch, made sure to water them consistently as well as feed them regularly. And here is another shot of the wildflower garden, because why not? Hollyhock up close. Lovely. So much beauty. Again, not perfect by any stretch, but enjoyable all the same. This area brings me tons of joy, and I rarely have to mess with it at all. This whole clump of things just comes back and does its thing every year. The only thing I really have to do as far as maintenance is yank the bachelor buttons out once they start looking kind of half brown like they are right now. So close up on my orange and maroon daylilies that my mama got me. And now we're swinging over to the 8x4 bed, which is primarily peppers and roses. I kept most of my sweet peppers. I think there's one maybe jalapeno plant tucked in here somewhere, but it's primarily bell and sweet snacking peppers. Not really any fruits going on right now. In the back corner there, that is a first prize rose that I took a cutting of and rooted. And next to that is my pathetic looking sentimental rose that keeps dropping its leaves. If anyone has suggestions on how to reduce leaf drop on roses when summer heat comes, please let me know. Got a very bushy nasturtium in the front here with the lovely lily pad style leaves. Some sweet William, or pinks, some people call them. Got a couple of those tucked in here for the pollinators. Help get more peppers going. And just taking a peek around the pepper patch, seeing what we've got growing on here. They've definitely had a growth spurt and are setting more fruit now. I've already had several harvests of the sweet peppers and one harvest of jalapenos, but still waiting on my cayennes and my Hungarian wax to really come in. This is a sun sprite rose back here. And next to that is my perennial sweet pea. I gave up on trying to grow annual sweet peas out here on the obelisk. They never did well for me, but the perennial came back strong from last year, so. And here we're looking at my two other watermelon fronts in the back. So I have 4 total, but these 2 are just showing off. Look at the immense vines on those. And they are planted amongst some hot peppers. So I've got 2 cayennes, a Hungarian wax, I believe 1 or 2 jalapenos in this bed, as well as some snapdragon and more nasturtium. Another look at those trailing vines running away in my yard. Taking a peek at the cayennes here. Looking for any ripe fruit, which, spoiler alert, I do find here in a moment. This is Hungarian wax. And a cosmos, which keeps hiding my cayenne here, which does have some ripe fruit on it. And I'm failing miserably to show it to you. I also find another one here behind there. So yeah, pretty exciting to finally have some hot peppers coming in. I love hot sauce, so I want to make some of that this year. No idea what color cosmos this will be. It was in a mix, so. And here we have yet another snapdragon. And if you haven't already guessed, I also love snapdragons. There's a viola next to that. Taking a close-up look here at the nasturtium flowers. Those beautiful tropical style flowers. And over here is the last bed out front. We've got a row of sunflowers in the back, sweet corn in the middle, a borage on the far right, and a border of beautiful zeolite calendula with one little Pacific beauty on the corner, and some sweet alyssum poking out as well, and one lone Kilimanjaro white marigold over here. Let me move that corn out of your way, buddy. There you go. All right, now that we've covered the front yard, let's switch gears and head to the backyard. I love my backyard in summer because all of the foliage makes me feel like I don't live in suburbia, as you'll see. So to start off here, we've got a tray of mixed lavenders and some rainbow chard. I have since transplanted 4 lavender vera plants out front where the bachelor buttons were. So some of those found homes. Here's a tray of roselle, a couple holy basils, and some regular basil, some half-dead alpine strawberries. This is real life, guys. I do kill plants. A tray of hen and chick cuttings that I am rooting. You can have those as house plants and outdoor plants if you didn't know that. And taking a look at the back side of the house here, we have my mint bed and some elderberries back here by the hose. A little bit of a panning shot of the mint here. It definitely is comfortable and fills the space up. In front of that, we have a tray of potted up Shasta daisies and a sage. Next to that, we have some plants that my friend brought me. Those are 8 and 9 ball squash, clary sage, self-heal, a couple pineapple tomatoes that I need to find homes for. And here is my outdoor wandering Jew basket. Looking full and lovely with its beautiful purple, green, and silver foliage. Here's a little bit of a panning shot of what my backyard's looking like. I have a lot of animal pressure where I'm at, so I have 2 outdoor cats, lots of squirrels and deer. That's why my beds pretty much stay covered all the time. Otherwise, the outdoor kitties like to use them as litter boxes, and the animals will eat whatever I put out. Right now, we're looking at what was my mixed lettuce and herb bed, but most of the lettuce has gone to seed. I just pulled my snow peas recently and replanted the back row area with some Kentucky Wonder pole beans, as well as a couple butterfly pea plants, which I'm looking forward to making some cool concoctions with. Hopefully they come to fruition. The leafy greens in the back row is actually celery, which hasn't gotten very big, but it is really delicious. I just put it in some soup with my homegrown carrots. There's some thyme. Got multiple herbs in here, some savory. Shocking, another rudbeckia. I told you guys that that was going to be a common trend in this video. It's everywhere. Trying to show you a chive and a clump of little leeks that never did anything for me there. And over in this box that isn't covered, I've got a honey nut squash right here in the middle. Put a zinnia in the back left. That's a marshmallow plant in the middle there. Another plant my friend brought me. That's a holy basil. And, ooh, my video just hitched. I'm sorry that that's happened a couple times in this video, guys. I don't know why. I'm trying to figure that out. Behind that bed is another herb bed, so that's a bunch of parsley in the front there, next to some thyme and a chive plant. Looking good. Swinging around. And behind that, I've got more thyme. I've got this time on my hands. Some Greek oregano. Some more rosemary. I think I just saw another rudbeckia tucked in there. That's some marjoram that's gone to seed. And then we have some sage and savory at the end of that bed there. On the side here, I've got 2 viburnums with a knockout rose in the middle. The viburnums will turn a bright reddish purple in the fall before they drop their leaves, so they're good for multi-season interest in color. Early spring, they bloom huge white blooms, almost like a hydrangea. Disclaimer before we enter the 10 by 20, marijuana is recreationally legal in the state that I reside, which is Ohio, so don't come for me with judgy comments about how I'm growing cannabis in this tunnel, please. What we're looking at in the front here are my 3 tomatillo plants. I have never grown these before, but I do love salsa verde, so I'm hoping that they produce tons and tons of tomatillos for me. It's looking like I need to tie them up. And here we have 3 straight 8 cucumber plants that are tied to strings at the top of the tunnel. This is my first super successful year growing cucumbers, guys. I've never had, oh, feet shot, don't look there, and more rudbeckia. But anyway, I've not had this type of success with cucumbers ever. Another shot of the rudbeckia, just literally everywhere. And the cannabis about to hit the ceiling. I actually had to go give it a haircut after this video because I realized it was getting too tall. But yeah, guys, I watch a channel called Whispering Willow Farm. Shout out Jill, because that's where I learned this trick of growing cucumbers up strings. And again, I've never really had much success with them until I tried this method. So if you struggle with cucumbers, I highly encourage you to give growing them vertically a try. I don't think you'll regret it. In the back here, I've got 3 more cucumber plants. These are the tender green burpless variety. And it is trying to grow all the way to the front of my tunnel, and my tunnel is 20 feet long, so that's pretty crazy production, guys. Look at that. 3 plants, that's it. Just amazing. And kind of taking a peek at my plants back here. Those are 3 OG Kush plants. This is a Royal Gorilla. Behind that is a Wedding Gelato. And the 2 in front of that are going to be a surprise because I saved the seed, so not sure if it'll grow true or not, but looking forward to the surprise later. So that's what's growing on in the 10 by 20 greenhouse tunnel. Let's take a peek at the little fenced-in area behind it. I had one tunnel collapse on me and had to replace it, so I saved the metal pieces, which is what you see as stakes for the fence there. So again, using salvaged materials versus buying brand new. Just attached those to wire fencing and made a makeshift fence. I had a little bit more area to cover than I had with fencing, so I had to use one of my self-made crop cages to kind of close the gap there and keep the deer out of here. For the most part, it's been working okay. I'm having to really watch my step when I come in here because the watermelon vines are creeping out pretty far. Here's a little shot of the back here. So I have a 6 by 3 metal bed, which is where these watermelon vines are coming out of. And thankfully, I'm finally starting to see some honeybees. I've not really seen that many this year. Mainly I've been seeing bumbles, but... Ooh, and there's a fruit. Woohoo! Thanks, honeybees. Anyway, love to see the pollinator friends. I always get excited for them. The 6 by 3 bed, so it has 1 pumpkin in the middle and 1 watermelon in each corner. So 4 watermelon plants and 1 pumpkin plant in the center. Growing on nicely. Right on the corner of this bed here, I have an apple tree next to a hollyhock. Here's another apple tree, right as you enter, right behind that crop cage. I started those from seed, so again, it'll be more surprises when and if they produce. Next to that is what used to be an herb bed, but it has been overcome with flowers, which I'm not mad about. Trying to navigate the intense vining area here without stepping on anything. I planted a row of white Kilimanjaro marigolds all along this back part of the tomato wall here. So you'll see tons of those blooming. And we've got zinnias and marigolds in this in-ground area that used to have a ton of herbs. As you can see, some chamomile kind of poking out the front. I had mints in there, some other stuff, but quickly became overtaken by the flowers, which again, I'm not mad about. We'll see how it does next year. Here's my third and final apple tree that I have out in this area. I know they are close together. I plan on keeping them very trimmed up and on the smaller side, so no worries there. Here's my overachieving pumpkin, guys. So it stretches towards that 6x3, but it's actually planted under the tomato, and look at it. I didn't do this. It started to climb the tomato itself, and now it's affixed itself to the fencing, which I zoom in on to show you. Look how tight it's holding on. Nature's so cool. So like I said, this is my tomato wall. So I've got 6 or 7 tomatoes planted up the middle and affixed to the fencing here for some support. Got a regular marigold down here hanging out. Swinging around to the back side of the tomato wall, I do have 3 more pumpkins planted back here. So here's the first one. Here's the second one. The first one has a fruit on it, which I'm about to zoom in on. Looking good. I believe all of these are Connecticut field pumpkins. The middle one might be a Jack B. Little. I'm not positive. The middle one is the only one that doesn't have a viable fruit on it. I thought this one got pollinated, but I came out a couple days later and it looks like it's about to fall off. So I think I was mistaken. Lifting up the camera to show you the Super Sweet 100 tomato that is absolutely loaded down with trusses of fruit. I have already harvested several cherry tomatoes from this particular plant. And it is aptly named. These fruits are absolutely delicious. So if you've never tried a Super Sweet 100 tomato, do yourself a favor and try growing it at home. Super productive. It's one of my healthiest and biggest plants. So definitely give it a try. Here's my third pumpkin vine with a fruit on it. About the same size as the other one. Thankfully, I'm not seeing any squash bugs or vine borers out yet this year. Knock on wood, because I know they'll be coming soon. Here's some peppermint that's starting to go to seed, which I snap off and sniff because I can't help myself. Another marigold here. And here's the actual end of that pumpkin vine where it's planted. So it goes underneath the fence there. I underplanted this side with a couple pinks or Sweet William plants, as well as some herbs. So that's an oregano growing flat on the ground next to it. These are roughly, I don't know, 9, 10, maybe 12 feet long tomato walls with 2 T-post trellises and some walnut branches for bracing. I did leave a 3 to 4 foot gap between the 2 walls so that I could more easily kind of traverse between them. And here's a panning shot of that other wall here. Now we're just going to kind of walk through and see what kind of fruit we've got going on these tomatoes here. Here's the front of that Super Sweet 100, so it's loaded down. There's another bigger tomato. I do apologize that I'm not aware of the varieties, guys. I just literally threw this area together so quickly. When I put the mulch down, I put 2 layers thick and I didn't even remove the grass. I just let that sit for a couple of weeks. The grass wasn't even fully dead when I planted the tomatoes. Another pollinator friend doing the universe's work, bringing fruits to life and the bounty to our hands. So thank you, pollinator friend. Always appreciated. Another beautiful truss of fruit here. That might be a golden jubilee. Some more fruits. I'm really looking forward to tomatoes this year, y'all, because the past 2 years have been not so great for me for tomatoes. That's why I kind of went an extreme route, and I went out of my way to give them their own dedicated space this year because I love tomatoes, and I'm sick of not having them. So far it's looking good. My only qualm with my current setup is because there's such a small hole at the bottom, it is a little troublesome to fertilize. So I'm having to go underneath each one with a, watering can that has liquid feed and make sure that it's actually getting in the hole. In the future, I would like to have the foresight to run some drip lines or something that I can maybe run some liquid feed through. That would make my life a lot easier, but it works for now, and the plants seem to be happy. This side is underplanted with some hyssop, chives, and I think the one right before the chives was a horehound. So they're underplanted on both sides to kind of help deter things and add additional smells to the area. So lots of mint, hyssop, Sweet William, marigolds, things that would hopefully confuse the pests, and so far seem to be working. So, well, y'all, that is the end of the garden tour for early July. I'll leave you with some evening shots of all my whimsy twinkle lights that I love so very much. I hope you've enjoyed your visit to my magical little corner of the world here, because I've enjoyed sharing it with you. I'll be making more regular garden tour videos moving forward. So if you did enjoy, please make sure you like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video. Until next time, I wish you love, light, and abundant blessings. Bye, friend.